What we see is not always the truth. Lies, deceit, cover us. This is the world we live in. It is not reality. It is distorted reality. Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Distorted Reality. I am your host, Nick Tucker. Today is Thursday, the 23rd of January, 2014. And on today's show, I am joined by a very special guest, Reverend Wayne S. Pierce from The Views Expressed Live over on Spreaker.com. You can check out his show live, 4 p.m., 7 Eastern, Monday through Friday, right there on Spreaker.com, and Free America Radio on Facebook. And I've had him on in the past, and every time that he's on, him and I, we talk about stuff that is what we feel is important, what we know is the truth, and we just try to put it out there in a way that everybody else can follow along with. You know, we don't want to alienate anybody. We don't want to try to discourage anybody, to make anybody scared. That's not our purpose. Our purpose is to bring out the truth, to bring out the real message of what is really going on. And by what really going on is what's going on behind the scenes. What is Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, New York Post, any of these media outlets, what are they not telling you that you need to know? What are they hiding from the American people that the American people need to know? And that's what Wayne and I do, and others out there do in the alternative media. We try to expose what the facts are behind the scenes. Okay, we try to tell you what you need to know. That's going to make a real change, to bring real progress, to bring some stability back to this country and worldwide, for that matter. It's not just an American problem, it's all over the world. We see all these countries now where their citizens are standing up and they're rioting and they're letting their voice be heard. You know, they're showing their elite rulers that they've had enough and that they want a true change. And it's only a matter of time before that comes to the United States. But the problem is, there is still a lot of distractions. There's still a lot of misinformation. There's still a lot of people that are in the dark, and majority of them don't want to know. And there's another majority that have an idea, but they don't want to take that extra step to really stand up and be heard and be known. And that's what needs to change in this country. We need to be the new Egypt, okay? We need to be these other countries, Brazil, so on and so forth, that stand up and tell our tyrannical dictatorship in the United States that we're done. We're done having you decay this country even more than you already have. And it's not just the dictator Obama who's the problem. He's just the puppet. He's the centerpiece. He's the actor on television that's dancing to this massive script, this Hollywood script that has been written for decades, for centuries, for years, forever. But yet people still look at these actors on television and blame them 100% for the problems. And it's not just them. There needs to be a 50-50 split between the actors on television and the ones that are behind them that you don't see, that you don't hear of, that are putting the money in, that are funding both sides of every war, that are coming up with these bills and regulations and so on and so forth, that these actors on television push through to the American people and the people worldwide for them to think that they are the cause of the problem when it's only 50-50. You need to understand what goes on behind the scenes, behind closed doors. And that's what we try to do here on this show and on Wayne's show, The Views Expressed Live, and others out there that are like-minded. That's what we try to do. We try to bring it out to the people in a way where everybody can understand and everybody can relate to it, and hopefully, start getting the wheels turning in their minds and trying to open up more eyes and ears to what is really going on. Because unless we all do this as a collective group, we're all going to fall together. And we're starting to see this now where more people are starting to come awake slowly but surely. But we need a mass awakening to really push through this idea of what's freedom and what's not, because we're not free in this country. We haven't been free in this country in a long, long time. And so I've got Wayne S. Pierce on from the Views Express Live once again. I've got him on the show today to talk about the media deception, to talk about the cloud that is hanging over everybody, and blocking them from seeking the real truth and blocking them from trying to understand what's really going on. Because I don't know if it's laziness or if it's not wanting to know or if they just don't care. Flat out don't care. And I know there's a lot of people out there that just don't care. They'd rather watch the world burn. But, for me, I've got a daughter that I like to see grow up in a free society and not a dictatorship like we're in now. So we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to try to get into as much of it as possible and see what we can do to shed the light, to bring some knowledge, okay? Because you're not going to get any knowledge from mainstream media at all. State-run media. It's not mainstream anymore. It's garbage. So with that being said, Wayne, it's a pleasure to have you on the show once again, buddy. Every time you're on the show, it's always fun. The time flies by, and we get into so much. So I'm going to stop rambling on here and welcome you on the show. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good so far.
Yeah, it's funny because you say so far, and I turned on the television this morning, and I almost wanted to throw up when I saw that the Fox News alert on the television screen was Justin Bieber gets arrested in Florida for, being a dumbass. I mean, is this really what is, big breaking news in this country anymore? Is some, geek kid, little skinny bastard that has no talent at all, and this is what is big breaking news in this country is Justin Bieber, really?
Yeah, you were. I was hearing your monologue, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, we want to turn the light on in the dark room, and that's what we do. I mean, we're there going, and telling people, even though the room is dark, you just reach in and flip on the light, folks. You can see everything. And you were talking about the state-run media. Yeah, they're all garbage, all of them. They all lie. That's just the way it is. They don't care. But my thought was, when I heard you talk about that, was the fact that, have you ever seen a puppet show? There's someone operating the puppet, the arms, the mouth, saying the words, doing all that. And what you see coming out of Washington, D.C., specifically Obama, and even on the state-run media, with those people reading the teleprompters, you're looking at puppets. That's all you're looking at. And this whole thing about Justin Bieber, whatever, I didn't like him when he first came out, and more people that I see are asking, is that a girl?
I know. We've lost not only have we lost the sense of what should be news and what's important and what's not, we've also lost a sense of humanity in the respect that we look at somebody like a Justin Bieber and we look at some of these other music people. I'm not going to call them artists. They're just there. No. They're, just like the puppets in D.C., well, they are puppets for the music industry. They're told what to say, what to sing, how to sing, what to write, everything else. There's no creativity with these idiots anymore. No. But I just look at them and I say, is this what, being a man is all about nowadays? Is to wear, these skinny jeans and look like a dumbass, and act like a dumbass? Is that what really this, society has turned into?
It's androgynous now. I mean, when you look, there is no, you can see it in the Illuminati-based music coming out of Hollywood, coming out of just music industry altogether. I mean, you look at people like Bieber and like Lady Gaga and like, all these other, like Keisha and like, all this, and they get all wrapped up in this facade of I've got to pretend to be this, rock star or whatever. And when you really look at them, when you look at the established rock stars of the 70s and 80s, and you look at them now, they're home with their kids, they're taking their kids to school, they got soccer, they got this, they teach their kids to hunt, Ted Nugent, that kind of thing. And it's like, that to me is Americana. Nowadays, since the mid-90s on up to today, You ain't got that. It's not there. The resemblance of America and American culture is not there anymore. It's just totally disappeared.
It has disappeared, and what we're seeing now is more of a deception. This is how, through the manipulation of the media and through today's so-called music, this is how we're supposed to act. We're supposed to act like complete, idiots. We're supposed to go out and do idiotic things. We're supposed to get in trouble with the law and all this because it's cool. You're not cool unless you do this. Now, there's going to be people out there that say, well, that's exactly how rock and roll was back in the 70s and 80s and 60s and so on. Yeah, but this is the difference, though, is we are more of a society now to where everything that we see on television and we read in these magazines, that is how life is depicted now. Whereas before, it was reckless, and yes, it was, maybe not something that you would want to do, but you still had, at least a head on your shoulders to make your own decisions. Now everything that's out there is designed for them to influence you even more so than before, to tell you this is how you should act. Because if you don't act this way, well, then there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, exactly. And we sign. It's called programming. And why do you think they call it programming? That's exactly what it's for. It's to program you to be a certain thing. The certain thing the system says that you should be. Dress like this, you'll get the girls. Dress like this, you'll look better at the office. Or women, wear this bikini, you'll pick up all kinds of guys on the beach, And you see that in the commercials. And that's, to me, because I've taken marketing and advertising in school, I can tell you specifically that that's all psychological operations on a very minor level, but it works because the general public is looking for that prize. They're looking for that thing. But when they find out, like you and I have, that's all fraud, it's all scams, it's all, that, then we just look at it and laugh at the other idiots trying to get it.
Yeah, and it's actually, you hit the nail on the head there when you talk about the programming, and it's all mind control and it's thought control, and they want to manipulate everything in such a way that unless you're not thinking on their frequency, so to speak, then you're the one who's lost in the shuffle. And I'm trying to, slowly but surely introduce some of this stuff to my daughter. My daughter is still young. She's only 7. She's in 2nd grade. But at this age, she's very, she's like a sponge. She takes all this information, and it's up to her to figure that information out. Well, in some of the music videos that she's seen with her friends and whatnot from, the Katy Perrys and some of these other people, she's starting to see some of the stuff that I'm talking about now. And I can't remember the name of this one girl that she likes to listen to, but in her video, flat out, there's an Illuminati symbol, the pyramid, with the all-seeing eye towards the end of the video. And my daughter looks at me, and she says to me, "Oh, Daddy, I'm sorry, I didn't know that was in the video." And it's, refreshing to see that she's starting to pick up on this stuff now. But at the same time, it's so dangerous because how many others are not picking up on this and that are being sucked in and trapped into this void of consciousness? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly, and it's the same way when I was growing up, when I was, 7 and such, and as time goes on, you see this manipulation from behind the scenes, and of course, what's the quote? If you tell a lie, long enough, it becomes truth, or something like that. I'm just paraphrasing, but that's basically what it is. And when this whole entertainment, quote unquote, system throws it in your face and says, yes, you're entertained by this, yes, do this, yes, do that, it then drives you into this trance, this I don't know, you become an automaton, you become a robot to their I don't know what to call it anymore. I mean, it's their influence is too much on our kids. I personally don't have kids, but I have talked to so many over the years, and I have nieces that are just very intelligent. One right now is in the Air Force, and went from the Navy to the Air Force. Kind of odd, but I totally support her, and I see a lot of this, and it's just kids look at older folks like you and I and go, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. This is great." No. listen to my music from the 70s and 80s. You'll see what was great. You know, what felt good, what really helped. But then again, look at it this way. It was back then as well. I didn't know it until I really started researching all of this back in the late 80s, early 90s, and getting deep into the research. And I found out that, yeah, you know, this stuff has been around for quite some time, long before I was even born.
Yeah, you know, absolutely. And it all goes back to that program. It all goes back to that control. You know, they want to implant in your subconscious mind a thought that is not your own, that you are going to take and that you are going to use throughout, and you're going to be brainwashed and you're going to be controlled through this thought process. You know, nobody thinks for themselves anymore. They have to be told what to do. They have to be told what to watch, what they shouldn't watch, so on and so forth. And it's just one thing that I've really found from talking to some people and hearing other people talk is they understand this concept, especially some of the older people, but they're too afraid to speak out about it or to have a conversation about it. It's almost as if they're intimidated, or they just don't want to, I guess, have a discussion about this. I don't know if it's fear or if it's being timid. I don't understand it. But I see that it's there, that they understand it to a point, but they don't want to take that extra step to really dive into it and really figure out what this all means.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, and then you've got the opposite of that, which is, and here's the big key to someone who doesn't really have a clue. They say this, and I quote, "I don't want to hear it." The operative word is, "I don't want to." The operative phrase is, "I don't want to," and then you can add whatever you want to that. Because they don't want it, whatever it is, to disrupt their little flow of whatever life they have created for themselves. They don't want to see the massive the mass of people dying because of flu shots, because of mercury, because of fluoride in the water. They don't want to know and want to even investigate GMOs in the crops or you know, your just everything going on. They don't even want to look at what's happening in China right now or in Japan. They don't want to see, they don't want to hear how much radiation is in the Pacific Ocean right now. They don't want to hear what Vladimir Putin is doing. They don't want to hear any of that. All they care about is, I just want to go to work and come home and sit and relax.
You know, and it's funny to add as well that if you were to talk to somebody, especially, you know, an adult male, and the first topic of conversation that's going to come up is 90% of the time it's going to be sports.
Yeah.
You know, and I take a step back and I think to myself, what is more important? To know who is doing what in what sport, who is got the most yards, who's got the most points, all that, or is it more important to know what it is that you're eating, what it is that you're drinking, what it is that you're injecting into your body? To me, that is more important than to know who is going to do what on Sunday. That doesn't interest me anymore. It did at one time, and everybody needs entertainment. I get that. Everybody needs something to let themselves go with, to take their mind off of what's bad out there. I understand that. Believe me, everybody needs entertainment, but to divulge yourself into that 100% and to get lost in that and to think that is now reality and that this is now important is the wrong way to go, because while you're sucked into this trance, everything else that's going on is harming you and our families. But if we don't take that same energy that we put towards entertainment and put that towards real issues, nothing is going to change, and we're going to see the same decay and collapse of nations and countries and people all over the world, even more than we already are, if we don't get out of that trance.
Exactly. And I'm like you. My whole life was revolved around, what's the football game on Sunday? Oh, who's playing? I never watched college football, but I watched the pros. Okay, who's wrestling? I'd go over to a friend's house and watch pay-per-view and that kind of thing. I've been a wrestling fan since I was a kid, Now I look at that and go, it's the same thing. it's pulling me into something. It's escapism is what it is. It's pulling me into something, but distracting me from what's going on out in the world. Who's putting what in my water? Who's putting what in my food? Who's doing what behind the scenes? And when I pulled away from that, and when I literally, here's what I did: shut the TV off. And I began to really investigate all this stuff and look into this. I saw what I had been distracted from seeing, which was who's putting what in my water and food, and I thought, wait a minute, whoa, hold on, wait, I want to live in a world that's free from people putting poison in my water, but more importantly, I want to live in a world free from people putting poison in my mind. So turn the TV off and then start looking around and see what's going on. And I'm sure you're into sports too, but what I'm saying is I'm not obsessed with it anymore like I used to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I've said it before on this show, I've said it on your show, Wayne, that it's a big shell shock to a lot of people once they understand, they figure out that they have been lied to their entire lives, that everything that they've been told and taught and seen on television is a fraud, it's a scam, and it comes, to some people as too much of a shock and too much of a slap in the face, and they get scared and they get intimidated by it. I get that point. I get that part. But in order to come together and to do what our ancestors have done, that is to fight oppression, to fight tyranny, to fight all the things that are wrong and evil, you need to come together and you need to have strength in numbers. Only one person can do so much, but when you've got 1 million people, hell, even 1,000 people, you start to see things that change, and you start to see things come to light for the better. Get out of the darkness and step into the light, and that whole speech. But I get that it's a shell shock to a lot of people, but it needs to happen because what we're seeing now is not reality. This is false. This is a scam. This is a fraud, and I don't understand. Well, I can't say I understand. I don't know what to do much more than we already have to, help open up more eyes and ears. But just to say that everything that you're seeing on, the news, the Fox News and the CNNs is fake. I mean, what do we need to do to open up that consciousness to some people to say what you are reading, what you are seeing are nothing but talking points. It's fake. It's not real. What do we have to do?
Yeah. Well, a couple of things. First of all, turn the TV off. Second of all, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, I can't turn the TV off. I got, whatever excuse they're going to use, they're going to use it. Turn it off. Unplug the cable. Just get rid of it. You don't need it. And search. Whatever you are going to admit is truth, and facts, is going to be something that you yourself look at. Not anyone else is going to give you. You yourself have to find that truth and find the facts that go behind it, and that's what I've done in the last 20 some odd years. And I've looked at that, and again, and you're right, it is a shell shock. When I looked at all of this, and I thought, oh my God, in the 90s when I was looking into the Waco thing, the Oklahoma bombing, all of this, when I was looking into that, I thought, there's something else coming down the line. This is not it. This is not over. Something major is going to happen. And I started putting pieces together. And the shell shock moment came when I realized that in 1993, when the FBI staged, and I use that word, staged the bombing in the World Trade Center in the garages underneath, when they put that together, I thought, wait a minute. They had that, they had Waco, they had Oklahoma City. Something's coming. I don't know specifically what it is. And then, of course, September 11th, 2001, I went, bingo, there it is. And from that moment, things changed. Yeah, and remember, Clinton was in office from 91 to 2000. So I mean, you got to look at all his connections and how everything lined up to put him in place to where he's at now. I mean, he still has influence. Him, if you notice, little side note, him and GW both are welcome at the White House. Why is that? Because they're still in control. They still have some sort of, they pull some of the strings behind the scenes. Obama's not the only one.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got an idea, as you were talking there, I have an idea that I think would help open up some eyes to some people to make them think a little bit here. And that is, let's take some of the big news channels here. Let's take CNN, let's take MSNBC, and let's take Fox News. And let's break this down for some people. Let's start with CNN. Okay, let's look at Ted Turner, who was once the mogul, the brains behind CNN. And let's start with CNN, and we'll move on to some of the other big news channels. But just so people have an idea of how paid for, how fake this news that they put out really is, by understanding who's the ones running it from behind the scenes. Okay, so let's start with CNN. Let's start with Ted Turner. Now, I know, and I know you do as well, Wayne, that Ted Turner is a complete globalist. He is the one of the ones, just like the Bill Gates and the rest of them, that want the depopulation. He's gone on record talking about how depopulation is great and how it's a great thing that more military men and women are committing suicide because it shows a sign of humanity, whatever the hell that means. Okay, Ted Turner is a new world order globalist minion, and I think that people really need to understand just how dangerous and how important, really, these people are, because they are putting out, or presenting, I should say, what is to be factual, but what is really not. Because you have to look at what the mainstream media puts out. And there is facts to it, don't get me wrong. There are facts to what they put out, but it's so diluted, and it's so presented in such a way that you have to buy into it because it sounds like such a great thing. The New World Order, where all countries can come together and we can have this one world global currency where nobody can be broke and yada, 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 when in turn it's just a collective enslavement of humanity worldwide. So, Wayne, in your opinion, Ted Turner, CNN, let's start with that.
Ted Turner has already said, and you can go find it on YouTube and other places, where he wants 80% of the population of the world to be gone. That him and Bill Gates are the same way. But Ted Turner, of course, I don't know how he grew the cable news network that he started way back when, but he sold it off, and now he's in a position to where he can control what goes into the news instead of sitting there taking what's from the world and putting it on and, delegating his authority. Now he can make the news instead of, propagating it from his, ivory tower. But he is, I'm not going to hold back. He's a piece of work. I scrape stuff off the bottom of my shoe, okay, that is probably worth a lot more than he is, and it's not saying much, but he's a piece of work. He's controlled just like all of them. Bill Gates, I mean, if you want to look at those two in context, they're both of the same cloth. They're both hanging out there and saying, here's what we want the world to do. And they're not holding back.
No, they're not holding back, and that's the problem. Is because at least let's put it in context this way. Okay, we see CNN's ratings are dropping.
Yes.
Fox News, unfortunately, has good ratings. I wish their ratings would drop too. But MSNBC's ratings are dropping as well. So there is a collective group of people out there in this country and worldwide, for that matter, that are looking at this and saying, you know what? How come I'm not being told about this march against Monsanto? How come I'm not being told about this rise of people demonstrating in this one country? And why am I being told about some baseball steroid scandal? Why am I being told about another celebrity drug bust? Is this really what I need to be focused on? So at least people are becoming more awake that they're not being presented the truth anymore, and that it's just all fabricated lies. So at least their ratings are dropping, but at the same time, they are still dominant in majority of people's minds, because this is what they have grown up to know as to be, quote unquote, real factual news and what's really going on. When you can pull up YouTube videos and see CNN and all these other cable news networks that stage interviews. They stage of where they're saying that they're at. They're in some war zone, when in turn they're on top of the CNN towers in Georgia. They're not in a war zone. They're on top of a skyscraper. We've seen how they use green screens to show that they're, in some jungle, or they're in front of some school. They're not. They're in a studio, doing another, playing by another Hollywood script that has been written for them.
Exactly. And when you look at the stories that they put out, it's all fake. I mean, it's all, and somebody has the gall, more than one person has the gall to tell me, oh, they have a little bit of the truth, or they couldn't put it on TV. How naive are people to believe that? I mean, seriously. But when you look at the likes of Ted Turner and Bill Ayers, or, Roger Ailes, not Bill Ayers, him too, but Roger Ailes and over at Fox and people of that nature, when you look at these people, yeah, they want to, have part of this, little thing that's going on, and somebody's going to give them a little crumb of, some power. That's what they're looking for. All these, but Ted Turner saw the writing on the wall. He saw how popular CNN was, and he went, I'm going to sell it off. And he's probably sitting around a table having a drink with Al Gore. But when you look at all the fake news and the propaganda that's put out there, you have to look back in history and say, okay, where did this idea come from of deceiving the public? Well, can we say Nazi Germany? Because in the newsreels at the movie theaters, you saw this. It wasn't, what was happening. You saw the newsreels. This happened and the bombing and this, but what happened behind the scenes? Why did, in 1941, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor? What happened behind the scenes? The president already knew of that time that it was going to happen. He's just like, well, I was told that not to do anything. Really? And it's all in the records. You can go, Freedom of Information Act. It's all there. They knew it. They knew. And these news organizations like CNN know that what they're putting out is a bunch of BS, but they're told to put it out to deceive the American people.
Yeah, exactly. And really quickly here, I want to play this video of Ted Turner on that piece of trash Piers Morgan show last year, where he says that he thinks it's a good that U.S. troops are killing themselves. Here's the clip.
More American servicemen
are dying now.
Suicide.
From suicide over there that are dying in combat.
I mean, that's shocking, isn't it?
Well, no, I think it's good, because it's so clear that we're programmed and we're born to love and help each other, not to kill each other, destroy each other. That's an aberration. That's left over from hundreds of years ago. It's time for us to start acting enlightened.
You see, and that's funny, is because he says, right before he says it's a good thing, he says that it's terrific. He wanted to say it was terrific, and then he says, oh, no, it's a good thing. And then at the tail end of it, he says it's enlightening. What the hell are you talking about, Ted Turner? How is it enlightening that, men and women are killing themselves in a meaningless BS proxy war set up by the Rothschild family to overthrow another country that we have no business fighting in by, bringing us into these wars by staging false flag attacks and everything else? How is it okay, Ted Turner, that these men and women are killing themselves while you sit back and line your pockets from your fake news station, Mr. Ted Turner? I mean, wow, Wayne, that is, putting it out there and saying, hey, I'm showing you my true colors and I don't care anymore because I'm old, I'm rich, I'm better than you. You can just, kiss my ass, so to speak.
Yeah, pretty much. And I like how he, at the tail end of that, he's like, well, we want to help people. We don't want to kill people. So, and what he's saying is, it's terrific. It's fine that the soldiers are killing themselves because that's less people that will probably go out. In his mind, he's thinking this, not me. He's thinking, oh yeah, that's less people that'll go out on the streets and get, crazy and shoot people, so, really I don't want to get into his mind, but that's just a speculation as to what he might be thinking. But then he says at the end, oh yeah, people need to be enlightened. We are, Mr. Ted Turner. We know your criminal activities. Don't give me that crap.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's just unbelievable. And if you look at CNN, in Georgia there, and of course, when you talk about Georgia, you got to talk about the Georgia Guidestones. And it says, that's like the 10 Commandments, so to speak, of the New World Order, of the Illuminati, of the Freemasons, of all of these groups and entities and organizations that are, created to put themselves as us being the enemy. They're the enlightened ones. They are the better ones. They are the ones that are in power because they are so brainwashed and so corrupt and so power tripped that they think they are better than us when they eat just like we do. They sleep like we do. They bathe, hopefully, like we do. But you look at the Georgia Guidestones and the first, commandment, so to speak, that pops up is to reduce the world's population under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. And then you've got Ted Turner and Bill Gates and Oprah Winfrey and the rest of these idiots talking about depopulation. Everything has to be, in balance with nature, and that we're overpopulated and this and that. So, I think depopulation is a good thing, that we all should take the vaccines and we all should kill each other. And it's a good thing that men and women are killing themselves in the military because, it's enlightening to see. I mean, this is disgusting.
Yeah, it is. And I got on my... I've got on my phone here the Georgia Guidestones. And yeah, you're right. Number 1, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. That comes out of the playbook of the New Age movement years ago, not just in the recent 100 years, but years ago. And number 2 is guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. How about going and checking out 2045.com and transhumanism, and number 3, unite humanity with a living new language. Yeah, what's the new language? I can go down, but you can find them at the GeorgiaGuidestones.com. You can find all of it there, and it's just amazing that people would ever want to believe the likes of Oprah Winfrey or Ted Turner or any number of those morons, because what they don't get is they don't get the fact that we are enlightened. We understand what's going on. You know how to get enlightened? You educate yourself. You educate yourself on what's going on around you. You look at everything that is out there and say, okay, I know this over here, I know that over there. I don't like that too much over there, but I'm going to look into it anyway. I may not agree with this person over here, but I'm going to look into what he says. And, it's just, you have to educate yourself. If you don't, you're not so enlightened.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, to hear Ted Turner say, the things that he says, and to know the influence and the power that man has is disgusting. And he's on the same level with the Rothschilds, with the Rockefellers, with the George Soroses, all these people, because they are the big money players. They are the powers. Now, don't get me wrong, Ted Turner is just another go-along puppet as well, but he's got that power and that influence being a media mogul. So the people that don't know this information will look at someone like a Ted Turner, and he might say some things like this, but it won't click with the normal person. It'll be like, oh, well, he really does care, because it does show that there is some humanity and some compassion, that these people, do what they do and go and kill themselves. Yeah, that's a great thing to do. I mean, everybody is so manipulated and so brainwashed that it's in code. He says this, but these people don't take it for what it really is.
Yeah, they don't call it television programming for nothing.
And now, we talked about Ted Turner a little bit here, and we can go on for hours about Ted Turner, but let's move on to MSNBC now, because MSNBC is the White House mouthpiece. Obama
Yes.
can do no wrong. Everybody else in D.C. is up to no good, but Obama is the golden angel. Obama is the golden child. Nothing can ever come, out of Obama's mouth that is bad. And then you look at Chris Matthews, one of the anchors there at MSNBC, and he's almost had like a love affair with Obama. He probably puts on some candles and scented candles and probably lays in a nice warm bath, with the lights turned down, just listening to Obama speak. I mean, it's disgusting how they get away with this brainwashing that they do. But MSNBC obviously is part of the National Broadcasting Company, obviously, but is also in part with Microsoft. Now, Microsoft, again, Bill Gates. Now, Wayne, let's try to break this down for people in a way where everybody can understand. Let's break down MSNBC like we did with CNN here.
Yeah, MSNBC is just that. Microsoft wanted to get into the media news business, and so they worked the deal out with NBC, or now it's, Universal or something like that. I don't know what it is now. They've changed hands so many times. But, so Bill Gates wanted to get into, the news business because he saw money, is what he saw. And to me, who's over there? Chris Matthews is a total douchebag. Ed Schultz is a douchebag.
Don't forget about Rachel Maddow now.
Yeah, don't get on Rachel Maddow, because we don't know what she is yet. I'm just putting it out there. But when you look at all these personalities over there, and then you look at the likes of people like from Fox or from CBS, ABC, NBC, and all that, when you look at all these people, you see a diversity of folks, but you see some very uneducated individuals. They're not even enlightened. And again, like you said, they're puppets. So MSNBC has this love affair. They almost want to... They are in bed with the press corps in Washington, D.C. Whatever they're reading off of their teleprompter is really directed from the White House, because of, if you look at some of the organizations that are related to MSNBC, you'll see that most of them are funded by George Soros and others, and they are telling the media what they want the people to hear and to see. They're not honest at all. And MSNBC, to break them down, I look at them two ways. They're deceitful and they're in it for the money. And whose money? Well, pretty much if you buy anything from their sponsors, it's going to be your money.
Now, let's talk about the morning show that they have there on MSNBC with Joe Scarborough. And what's that lady that's with him? I can't remember her name.
She's Mika Brzezinski. She's the daughter of Zabrigny Brzezinski.
Now, let's talk about the importance of that, because obviously Brzezinski is a piece of trash, tool bag, globalist scum as well. And then you've got his daughter, who is on the White House mouthpiece, where Obama can do no wrong. Let's talk about the importance of that. For the people who don't know, Wayne, let's break down Brzezinski. Let's talk about his influence, and let's talk about the influence that his daughter has now, the little bit of influence that she does have on MSNBC. Let's talk about the importance of that.
Yeah, Brzezinski, from what I could gather, if you look at him, I don't know too much about him as much as I know about her, but she is, again, a mouthpiece of Washington. And it's kind of interesting to me that Joe Scarborough was once a congressman, if you look back in his history. And how did he get to be on MSNBC? Let's see, White House influence somewhere? But that show, I've watched it. Oh, don't get me wrong. I used to watch MSNBC until I, found out they're full of crap, too. And I turned it over to the Fox, and then I stopped watching them because they're full of crap. But I used to watch, all of them over there. And to me, that show really shows the general public who's aware and awake just how stupid these people really are. They think we're stupid, so they're going to say things that are way over our heads. So, people are going to go, oh, well, it came from MSNBC. I saw it on, this show, and it must be real. And, it's that whole influence that MSNBC, has over the intellect of the people that watch their shows. They not only are stupid on these shows, they're trying to dumb down everybody else with their stupidity. But I'm trying to bring it up on my phone to give you some, information about him. But anyway, that whole show to me is a farce. And if you look at, and you talked about things being in code, I can look at it this way as well. When you watch Minka Brzezinski talk to Joe Scarborough, it's almost like, oh, Joe, I'm pulling your reins in. You're stepping out of bounds here, So it's that whole thing. It's almost like she's the gatekeeper of the show. She's like keeping him, in line with what he was told to do, and I see that. That's what I see. I don't know if anybody else sees that, but that's what I see. Our TV broke down, so I don't watch it anymore, and I don't care to watch it. But when I see clips and stuff on YouTube, I'm looking at her going, yeah, she's the tamer in this zoo over at MSNBC. So
exactly. And let's talk about her father here, because I'm about to play a clip here of Brzezinski talking about the fearing of the global awakening and that the elite are losing their control in the New World Order. This man has been in power for a long, long time behind the scenes. He was the security advisor in the Carter administration and so on and so forth. He's written books about the New World Order in a roundabout way. This guy is just like the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and the Soroses. Yeah. He is an enemy to the people, and his daughter is now a mouthpiece for the enemy to the American people, as if Obama and the rest of these globalist scum can do no wrong. So here's a clip of Brzezinski talking about the fears of a global awakening and the New World Order. It's very short.
I do feel strongly that we live in an age in which freedom is, in fact, the destiny of the future. We live in an age in which, for the first time in all of human history, the vast majority of mankind is politically awakened. I emphasize that, politically awakened. Not until the beginnings of the French Revolution did most of societies have political awareness. And what started in the French Revolution took 200 more years to become a worldwide phenomenon. Today, all of the world, almost, is politically awakened. And the only destiny for the world to live in peace is if that world turns its back on history of conflict, on national animosities, is true to the genuine communality of human aspirations, and builds an international system on that basis. I believe that is the challenge, and that is the opportunity of this century. And what has happened in Europe in recent history is a giant step in that direction.
So here he is saying that for the first time in history, more people around the world are waking up politically, and that the conflicts aren't working like they did before, and that it took 200 years, the French Revolution, for people to catch on to something that was going on behind the scenes. Now he's flat out telling you that there are more people being awakened by this fraud, by this scam, and that the false flags are not working as well as they used to, and that the fear of conflict isn't working as well as it used to, and that they fear, the globalists fear, because of the information that is out there now, and more people are becoming awakened and aware of this fraud, that their New World Order plans are not working as well as they used to. But see, on the flip side of that, that is what makes them more dangerous, Wayne, is because they know that we are waking up, that we are more aware than we've ever been before, and in turn, not only are they afraid that their plans are not going to work as well as they used to, now it's almost as if they're saying, we don't care anymore, we're going to hit you with harder conflicts now. We're going to hit you with harder false flags now because you know what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And if people don't know who Zbigniew Brzezinski is, he was the National Security Advisor under Jimmy Carter from 1977 to 1981. And, it's, if you go to, I don't like Wikipedia because they do either omit or just outright lie. But if you just look up Zbigniew Brzezinski, you will see a bunch of stories about him. I mean, he's a piece of work himself. So, but yeah, he hit the nail on the head. I mean, people are awake, and what took 200 years for people to understand what was going on, with the French Revolution, it's taken at least a quarter of that, 50 years at the most, for people in America to realize this whole governmental thing that's going on in the United States, this power play for the White House, it's all a fraud. And people are waking up to it quicker now in the last 10 or 15 years than they have previously.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this love affair with that they have, these globalists have, with dominating the rest of us and to keep all of us in the dark and medicated and dumbed down and all of it. I mean, it just all goes back to history and understanding how history has unfolded to what we are in today, and how these globalist frontrunners are, still behind the scenes pushing this agenda for this new world order, but yet at the same time it's falling apart around them, but it makes them more dangerous. So until, people in this country, especially in the United States, it's like a 50-50 split. There's some that are awake and there's some that are not awake. And we need to have everybody in this country get on the same page in some way, shape, or form like they are in other countries, so we can have, 10 million people do a mass protest in D.C., or to have them take notice of us, because right now they're just laughing at us. I mean, honestly, they are laughing at us in this country because we are so dumbed down. We are so domesticated. We are so in the dark as to what is going on politically around the world and, to us individually.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of marching in Washington, D.C., I want to put this out here, and that is on May 16th, Colonel Riley has called upon the American people to march on Washington, D.C., May 16th. And if you go to Guerrilla Media Network, you might find an article there about the march on Washington. And basically, it's a peaceful march, and it's literally people who have had enough of the bullcrap coming out of Washington, D.C., going there and saying, "Hey, we're done. You guys are fired. We're going to take over now." I mean, that's basically what it is. But some people behind the scenes, as Colonel Riley has said, that there are currently, as he has said on the Pete Santilli show, that there are at least 1.6 million people that have pledged to be there. That's a lot of freaking people. Okay, but like you said before, if it's only 1,000, if it's only 500, you're going to move the minds of other people to be inspired or aspire to get out there and really make the move to push this government into a more constitutional republic that it was years ago that we've almost forgotten about. And other states are calling on a congressional or a constitutional convention. And they're calling on that to tell Washington, D.C., we've had enough. Some states now are in their legislation signing laws nullifying the NDAA, nullifying NSA surveillance, totally telling Washington, D.C., we've had enough of your unconstitutional laws. We're taking a stand on the 10th Amendment, and that's the way it is.
Absolutely. And, going back to how Brzezinski is afraid that we are all becoming aware and awake collectively to the political agenda, another one that comes to mind is Henry Kissinger. Kissinger, he's not a mouthpiece for just CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. He's a mouthpiece for all of them. I mean, he's on almost every news station, almost every month, every 6 months, every year, and he is, putting more of the rhetoric out there that we need a global conflict, that we need the New World Order, that we need this and we need that. And I'm going to play another clip here, this time with Henry Kissinger, talking about when Obama got into office. And he flat out says that Obama will create a new world order. And I know you've heard this clip before, Wayne, and I played it before, but I'm going to play it again, and I want to get your take on how Obama has shaped this country into not only the division of race. Obviously, that was the goal from day one, but how we have brought in the presence of the New World Order into this country more so now than even when Bush Sr. was in and Bush Jr. and all these other idiots were in office. This was taking place back when Obama was first became president of this country. Not elected, but selected as president of this country. So this was going back a while ago now, 6 years ago. So hearing what Kissinger says in this clip here, and then comparing it to what we see nowadays, I mean, it's almost dead on as to what Kissinger talks about. So here is the clip of Henry Kissinger talking about how great Obama is and he will create a new world order.
I think the most important thing is for Barack Obama. Obviously, you're here to talk about the anniversary for U.S.-China diplomatic relations, but if you had to say this is going to be the country or the conflict or the place that will define the Obama administration, what would it be?
The president-elect is coming into office at a moment when there are upheavals in many parts of the world simultaneously. You have India, Pakistan, you have the jihadist movement. So he can't really say there is one problem that is the most important one. But he can give a new impetus to American foreign policy, partly because the reception of him is so extraordinary around the world. I think his task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created. It's a great opportunity. It isn't just a crisis.
So there he is. He says that Obama is in a great opportunity to create a new world order. Now, hearing that back then when Obama first got into office and seeing how it is now, what is your take on what Kissinger said there, Wayne? Do you think that Obama has done his job so far that he was put in office to do, and that is to bring the United States further into the New World Order agenda?
I believe putting two and two together like I like to do, when you watch his rise, Obama's rise from 2004, 2006 into the presidency in 2008, you see that this was planned out from the very beginning, because I believe that he is the focal point. That he's pretty much Obama's going on TV and talking, making his talking points and saying what he says and saying, well, we can do this and we can do that and we'll change this and all this. But that's a distraction. That's a planned distraction by Kissinger and everybody else that is controlling this puppet named Obama, because they know that if they keep pushing this distraction, people are going to say, okay, I give up. I don't care what happens just as long as I'm alive. That's what they're looking at. This has all been planned out many, many years ago. And, it could be anybody. Could it be Obama? It could have been Romney. It could have been, whoever else. But I believe that Obama is the focal point to bringing in this New World Order, as Henry Kissinger talks about. And this started before Obama, by the way, with George W. Bush. Because if you look back at how many times George W. Bush met with Henry Kissinger, you will see everything after that moving to what we would understand to be the North American Union and the globalist society that Henry Kissinger was talking about.
Absolutely. I mean, Obama is their perfect puppet. They couldn't have asked for a better puppet, and that's why I say this to the listeners out there and to everybody that I've talked to. And I say this: you look at the approval rating of Obama; it's crashed. It's completely tanked in this country. You look at Obamacare, how that is a complete fraud, and how that's not working, and they blame it on the website, and they blame it on this, they blame it on that. You look at the economy, you look at the job market, you look at all this stuff, and you all point the fingers and blame Obama. You got to understand, and I firmly believe this, that this is exactly what Obama was put in place to do. That was, excuse me, to create this divide, to create this panic, this chaos in this country, and that his approval rating going down and crashing and everything else is designed to do it this way. He has fulfilled exactly what it is that he was put into office to do. And you look at the 2016 upcoming presidential selection, and you see, well, who's going to be on the Republican side? Because we need a Republican to come in and take over the reins and to make things right again. It doesn't matter, folks, because this is theater. This is a play. This is a Hollywood script. This is a movie. So exactly what Obama has done to this country is what he was supposed to do. And the front runner that is coming out of the Republican side is designed to do it that same way. Same thing with the Democrat. Whoever the Democrat is that's running in 2016 is put into power or put into place to do the same thing. It doesn't matter because it's the same people, the same power brokers behind them that are instituting all this corruption and all this fraud and all this scams. He is doing what he is supposed to do.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, Henry Kissinger was National Security Advisor, just like Zbigniew Brzezinski. But Henry Kissinger was National Security Advisor from 1969 to 1975, and he was also Secretary of State from 1973 to 1977 under Richard Nixon, both times. And this, and get this, a little piece of information here. He was in the United States Army. He was a sergeant at the 970th Counterintelligence Corps. How can a foreigner be in the military of the United States? So, I mean, this is all planned out. It's been planned out probably for years and years and years and years. And it's just the game plan, and for you football people that have played football in high school and all that, you know the playbook. You see the plays. They're there on each page. This has been planned out. It's just a whole new team. They have to go by this playbook, and this is how it has to happen. And you're right. It doesn't matter. The midterm elections are coming up. That doesn't matter. Everything's already played out on that. We all, the players are already, there on stage. Somebody's just got to say action, and it goes from there. 2016, I believe that the presidential candidate that will be president is already picked out.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's already pretty much set in stone unless, a drastic change happens with more of the awakening of the people around the world and in this country in particular. But, speaking on what you said about Kissinger being a foreigner in the military, isn't it funny how Kissinger was born in Bavaria, Germany, where, what we know today as the Illuminati, 1776 under Weishaupt, brought the Illuminati out in the open, so to speak, back then in Bavaria, Germany. So you've got Kissinger, who is born German, and then you've got Brzezinski, who is born Polish, and yet they are, some of the major players behind the scenes in America. So you got foreigners controlling American policy and controlling, what people think as are the leaders, such as the presidents, and yet they all point fingers, speaking about the public, they all point the fingers at Obama saying, no, he's a foreigner, he's, from another country, he's not from here, yada, 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 when, the people behind the scenes who are telling Obama what to do and how to act are foreigners themselves. So again, it goes back to the people pointing the finger at the actor and not looking at who is behind the scenes controlling that actor.
Exactly. And when you look at even further, Brzezinski and Kissinger are being told what to do by the people who control the finances of the world, and one of the key players there is Evelyn de Rothschild.
Bingo, exactly, and that's what needs to be brought out to the forefront. Is you've got to look at the money players. You have to, as you say, Wayne, you have to follow the money. And we talked about it at great length before, and I've talked about it time and time again on the show, that if you want to have true change in this country, you have to kick out the globalist banking fraud cartel. That is the Federal Reserve, that is the Rothschilds. Until you get rid of them, you will have no change.
You won't. And change comes, and when you break it down very simply, change comes from within. Again, you got to educate yourself as to what's going on around you, and it's very hard, and you do get a shell shock, you get a culture shock, you get shocked into reality, and that's what you and I and others in the alternative media are trying to do. No matter if you agree or disagree with them, it doesn't matter. It's the message that's being put out. I mean, we have to understand, we have to be enlightened enough to see who's pulling the strings behind the, who's operating the puppets behind the scenes. We have to understand that. Who's paying them? Where's that money coming from? Why is China now failing economically? What's going to happen when they bought up, what was it, 4,500 tons of gold? I mean, what's going to happen to them when they collapse? What's going to happen? Well, Japan's totally gone, but, what's going to happen to all of these major players when out of Europe or out of other, European nations, this whole one world government is now centered around them? What's going to happen to all these other countries?
Absolutely, and I've done the video on the YouTube channel talking about Fox News reporting on China wants to create the New World Order because the currency in America is tanking and is in the toilet. And again, it's a manufactured crisis by the bankers themselves, and it's amazing to me that people will listen to this and they won't agree with it, but yet it's the facts and it's truth, and all they have to do is make a couple clicks on the computer and they can find this information out for themselves, but yet they still refuse to believe it. They still refuse to listen to what we have to say, and they have the audacity to tell us that we have no idea what we're talking about when I'm playing the clips, we're reading the articles, we're showing you the truth, yet they still deny its existence.
Exactly, and just to go off topic, when I began to research this stuff, I was a junior or a senior in high school around in that time, and I'd go to the San Joaquin County Library, sit down with a book in my hand, not a computer. I would read the damn stuff, it would be right there in front of me, and I'm sitting there going, what the hell is going on here? Why are these people not seeing this stuff? And I looked at the fact that the FBI had a file on Martin Luther King Jr., had a file on Robert F. Kennedy. I mean, the FBI, even though Robert F. was, running for president, they already had a file on him. They had a file on JFK. They had a file on Malcolm X. They had a file on everybody. And it's like nobody understands that they had a file on Jim Jones, taking his people over to Guyana. They had a file on him. Why do people not understand that no matter what we do, they're watching? And I may have a file. I don't know. Good. Bring it on. Let me see what you got. I'll correct a few things if you're wrong.
It has to come to the point that people need to understand that it's much more of what's really going on is what you're not being told. You're not being shown.
Exactly.
It's the stuff that's behind the scenes. And again, using state-run media, and we're exposing them piece by piece, and we're going to go to Fox News here in a second, but you look at the stuff, and then you look at some of these other so-called people who are awake and who know what's really going on, and then you bring up a point of Henry Kissinger, a Brzezinski, a Soros, you talk about the New World Order, they look at you like deer in the headlights, and they have no idea what it is that you're talking about, but yet they believe that they have the answer to what is wrong and how to make it right, when all they're doing is blaming the puppet. They're blaming the face to the real issue, and they don't want to explore beyond that. They're if it's not laziness, it's I don't know what it is, but they just don't want to explore beyond the puppet on screen. And it's almost like you want to smack somebody to say, wake the hell up, because you're not making a difference by continuing to use the same talking points that these state-run media propaganda pieces put out for you to discuss.
Exactly, and we know a few people like that. I mean, I've talked to several people who, I post stuff online, you see it, and some people come back going, yeah, but, and we know someone this morning who was posting stuff in response to what I was posting, and I'm just like, yeah, if they were taking a jab at me, bring it on. I'll show you the truth. You can jab at me all you want. I'm going to start coming out swinging. Here you go. You want to jab at me? Want to make fun of me? Here's the truth. Look at it. If you can't, bye. Have a nice day.
I'm telling you, that's what has to happen. Is we need to forget about the idiots in D.C., forget about who's running for what. We need to come together collectively as a people again, get a community going with like-minded people, put out the information, the real information, stop the infighting, and all get on the same page, and we'll create a change. We'll create a better environment for not only ourselves, but for our future when we kick out the New World Order agenda, by kicking out the bankers, by kicking out the people who are behind this corruption. But to still use the same talking points and to still debate and discuss what they want you to discuss is going to get all of us nowhere. So let's move on to Fox News here, because Fox News is very important, because right now, as I mentioned earlier, CNN's ratings are tanking, MSNBC's ratings are tanking, and Fox News' ratings are improving. Well, why is that? Oh, that's right. Because the dumbed-down American public who believe that a Republican will come in 2016 and make everything better again, I want to believe in what Fox News is telling me, because Obama sucks, the Democrats suck, and I need change. I want betterment. So the only way to get something better for this country is to put in a Republican, because the Democrat has failed. You see how easy that works, people?
Yeah. It's not going to make any difference. It's not. I know from watching the Democratic National Convention in 2004 when President Bush, retained his term, basically, got a second term. I was watching the Democratic National Convention, and I was watching it, and I'm going, wait a minute, who's this guy up there? Well, he happened to be Barack Hussein Obama. And I knew, watching that, and I looked at my mother at the time, and I said, there's your new president. And she going, nah, nobody will vote for a black man. There's no way. And I'm like, no, that's your new president right there. Sure enough, in 2006, 2007, moving on into the presidential campaigns, you saw this man from behind everybody, low in the polls, jump clear to the top. Why? Because they knew he was a puppet. He could be easily controlled. And that's how it all works. I mean, it doesn't matter what party you belong to. They're both corrupt, and they're both paid off by the same people. Exactly.
And that's my point with Fox News here, is you have a channel here, just like... I'm telling you, people, if we're not already locked up in camps and re-education camps and everything else, by the time 2020 rolls around when we have our next election, let's say that a Republican gets in on 2016, okay, and everybody thinks that this is great and it's awesome and yada, yada, yada. And then, a year, 2 years, 3 years later, everything starts to unwind again and everything starts to suck again. And then you're going to look at an MSNBC or a CNN that will have the Democratic candidate on there that everybody's cheering for and like, okay, well, the Republican failed, so now we need to get a Democrat in there. It's the same dog and pony show. It doesn't matter who it is, because they all have that simple agenda of make things worse by going by the same screenplay that's been written for them. And going off of what Wikipedia says here about Fox News Channel, created by Australian-American media mogul Robert Murdoch, who hired former NBC executive Roger Ailes as its founding CEO, launched in October of 96 to 17 million subscribers. It grew in the late 90s and the 2000s to become the dominant cable news network in the United States. There you go, folks. The dominant cable news network in the United States. You got CNN that is failing, you got MSNBC that is failing, and you've got Fox News that is on the rise because the people blame the Democrat, blame Obama for the problems when, again, it's a 50-50 split. Look at when Bush was in. Bush sucked. He sucked. Yeah. And he was a Republican. And he was just as bad as Obama. Obama's a little bit worse, don't get me wrong, because he has a little bit more leeway because they can use a whole race card and everything else that goes with it. But Bush sucked. The Patriot Act, 9/11, all of it. He was horrible. And plus, he couldn't even read a script right. I mean, at least Obama tries his hardest by reading, the teleprompter to sound like he knows what he's talking about. And the minute you turn off the teleprompter, Obama's lost, has no idea what the hell he's saying. Bush didn't know what the hell he was saying, even when there was a teleprompter. I mean, come on, people.
Yeah, that's true. Have you seen Obama talk to somebody just in an interview? I mean, if there's not a teleprompter around, he's like, but speaking of which, I mean, when you look at Bush, when you compare the two, and people are saying, well, now Jimmy Carter looks like a saint compared to Obama. No, because Jimmy Carter had his problems too, okay? And when you look at all this dog and pony show going on in Washington, D.C., you have to really focus your attention on who's training the dogs and the ponies in this show. I mean, that's just the simple fact of the matter of it. And when you look behind the scenes and examine the mindset of these people, of MSNBC, the Fox news stations, all of this, you have to really get rid of your preconceived ideas of who you think is the best and just watch them. They read from the same script, but they interpret the script differently. It's actors on a stage. I should know. I have a theater background, and I know exactly how that is. You have to interpret that script in a way that is going to sell your performance to the audience.
Absolutely, and it's mind-blowing to me for these people to think that any one of these idiots in D.C. and presidents and whatnot do anything that is not written for them. Just look at when they give a speech. There is a teleprompter. There is a teleprompter. Whether it's a State of the Union address, whether it's a live address, it doesn't matter. There's a screen. If it's not in front, it's on the sides of them, and they read from that script that's already written for them. And if you look at the when they do the press conferences at the White House there, and you've got Jay Carney out there speaking on behalf of Obama in the White House, all of the questions that are being asked are scripted questions. It's already questions that have been pre-selected for them to answer. So let me ask you this, people out there. Do you really think that any of this is real, or do you think that this is just a grand play unfolding before our eyes because everything is scripted?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And there are some reporters in that press room at the press conferences with Jay Carney that, and I'm surprised that they got away with this, that they actually nailed Jay Carney on a few things, and Jay Carney's like, I refer you to, and he got all flustered because he had to go off script.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to have to take, I guess, more reporters who have balls to ask serious, real questions. But at the same time, they still have to report on what they're told to report on. They can't put anything out there as far as an article goes or talk live on the news channel unless it's already, pre-written for them and okayed at the top, by their editor and their publisher and so on and so forth. So again, it's just a dog and pony show. It doesn't change. And, am I wrong here, Wayne, in saying that the reason why Fox News is dominant the way it is because they are pro-Republican and everybody is sick of the Democrat?
That is the simple interpretation. That is very, very accurate as well because, of course, you're right. I mean, if you don't like one party, oh, look at that, they screwed up, let's go to the other one, and you're like, wait a minute, the other one is just as corrupt and just as faulty as the other one. Because people cannot, they don't know what team they're on. They don't know what team they're playing for because you hit the nail on the head earlier. It's like nobody wants to investigate any of this stuff. Nobody wants to research. Nobody wants to dig down into, who's actually controlling this whole ball game. I mean, you got the to use that analogy, you got the owner of the ball team, and then you got the general manager, and then you have the assistant general manager, then you have the batting coach, and then you have the pitching coach. If the pitching coach doesn't know what's coming down the line and he's only told one thing to show those pitchers how to pitch, that's all he knows, and if he doesn't wake up to the owner doing some, really bad things behind the scenes, he's not going to know. All he knows is, I got to teach these people how to pitch. And this is what's going on in the state-run media. They're told what to say, and that's it. they don't want to investigate this. Oh, I'm pretty sure there are some from the state-run media that go home at night going, I can't believe what I just reported on them. I don't, wow, it's like, do they have that type of conscience? Do they have that light going off in their head? I don't know, but they will as soon, I would say sooner than later. I think that when people look at each party, and the midterms are coming up, if people are looking at the parties and saying, well, the Democrats suck, so I'm going to go over here to the Republicans, or I'm going to vote, cross party lines. That's what people usually do. But now when you look at the statistics, and there's graphs all over the place for this, you're seeing a number of Democrats and Republicans pissed off at both parties and going libertarian. Is that any better? I don't know, but the simple explanation is, if people get pissed off at one or about one, they're going to go to the other one.
If more people spoke out about the true goings on, you're going to have them at least report on it a little bit, and that goes in part with the Bilderberg meetings last year. Jake Tapper on CNN actually did a little bit of a piece on the Bilderberg, but again, it's all whitewash. It's all a facade. He makes it out to be, these conspiracy theorists think that these men are meeting behind closed doors to talk about global policy, which they are, and yet he, spins it on his program there by saying, maybe the Bilderbergs are here. I never got my invitation. Maybe got lost in the mail. Ha ha ha. They report on it, but then again, it's not, factual. They don't break it down for you like they should. And that goes in part with everything else. If I can have one politician, and this goes for Rand Paul, and this goes for Ted Cruz, and this goes for all of the Republicans out there that everybody is falling for now because the Democrat sucks. If one of these politicians on the Republican side or Democrat, I don't care. I don't care what party you're from. I don't care. But if I can have one of you actually come out and speak the truth by saying what the Federal Reserve really is, by saying that there is a new world order, by saying that there is, inner workings of an elite cartel behind the scenes, and that there is the Illuminati pulling all the strings, and this and that. If you can be honest with yourself and to the people, then you have my vote. But until then, you are nothing but another trash, scum, puppet, loser, and for all I care, you can walk off a short cliff. You know what I mean? A long walk off a short cliff, because I don't care about you because you don't care about us.
Yeah, exactly. The last year's Bilderberg group meeting, I have a list in my hot little hand. Guess who was there? Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon.com. Oh, shall I go on? I can name names, man, because they're all here on this list. And they're the ones that pull the strings behind the curtains. They are the ones that push the buttons, pull the handles. They are the ones that literally, some of these members go to Bohemian Grove and tell these potential, candidates for president or whoever that they're going to give these people their blessing. And okay, yes, now next you're going to send this candidate off to another group of people who's going to help them get into power. Of course, there are some members there that were part of Skull and Bones. I mean, keep going, folks. I mean, behind the scenes, it's scary as hell.
It really is scary, and again, it goes back to, a complete shell shock for a lot of people, because you talk to anybody out the street. If I was to go outside right now and pull some random person off the street and say, hey, do you know what the Skull and Bones Society is? What? What are you talking about? Oh, that's right, my bad. Do you know what the New World Order is? No. Well, do you know what the Federal Reserve does? No. Although it says Federal Reserve note on your dollar bill, you don't know what the Federal Reserve does. No, I'm sorry, I really don't know. Okay, well then who, is playing the Super Bowl, next week? Oh, well, it's this team and this team and this guy did this. I mean, that is the problem. That's the deception. That's the mind control of the dumbing down of the general people, the population control. This is it. This is mind control.
Yeah. And I'm sitting here looking at this list of Bilderberg members. It's damaging to everyone's life when you do not spend time looking into this and finding out who behind the scenes is controlling every aspect of your life. I mean, right here, I can go down the list. Eric Schmidt. You don't know that name? Well, you know his product. It's called Google. You know, I can go down the list. Peter D. Sutherland. Don't know that name? You know his company, Goldman Sachs International. So don't tell me that people are, you know, out there not willing or wanting to look behind the scenes of what's going on. Granted, there are people that don't want to look at this. They just want to see who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl and watch that, or they're too busy, you know, their kids are too busy watching, you know, Justin Bieber get arrested in Florida, or Kanye West saying he wants to leave America or whatever. They're too busy looking at that. And guess what? 1984, George Orwell spelled it out perfectly. This is exactly what is happening.
We are in an Orwellian society, and we are in a society that is controlled by technology. We are seeing, the technological advances explode. More so, you know, now with our smartphones, with our smart everything, smart TVs, smart dishwashers, smart appliances. I mean, all this stuff, and it's just another grasp to hold on to, is that, you know, they are listening in on everything that we're doing. They are watching everything that we do. It is a massive spy grid, and it has been this way for a long, long time, and it will continue to do so. I mean, I don't understand. Maybe we should do a whole show on this, Wayne, you and I, on the next time you're on, talking about the importance of this robotic future that we are seeing ourselves enter into, because it is truly scary, and it's not something that people should be taking lightly. I mean, they're even talking about replacing members of the military now with robots. I mean, robots are the future, and I don't think people really get the grasp of how important and dangerous this really is. Yeah,
they don't. They don't understand this, and they should have, you know, watched the show a couple of years ago. They conveniently they canceled the show because of quote unquote low ratings. It's called Future Weapons. You can find it on Netflix. And when you look at that stuff, and when you examine certain things of that nature and go behind the scenes at DARPA and at Google and all these other places, you better fear it, because they're coming after you. I just saw a headline. I haven't read the article yet, but I just saw the headline that Google Chrome, the browser, can hear everything and record everything that you do.
And then you're going to have the naysayers out there that say, "Oh, that's not true. There's no way that, you know, a website can listen in on everything that we do." It's there, folks. Why do you think that they have all these what they call movies? Okay, all these science fiction movies that have been put out over the years, and they show you what's coming. Look at Minority Report. Look at Star Trek. Look at Star Wars. Look at RoboCop, and even RoboCop is coming out again this year. You know, the reboot of that franchise. One can only imagine what they're going to show you in that movie, Wayne. I mean, Hollywood tells you, because Hollywood is ran by the same idiots who are bringing this stuff out in real life.
Exactly. Hollywood used to be mom and pops putting out good shows. I mean, when you look back at the 30s, 40s, 50s, good entertainment. Now, from I think the mid-50s on up, it's been nothing but predictive programming, propaganda, product placement. That started back in, you know, years ago as well, and it just drives people to the point of being in a trance. And you mentioned that earlier. It's a trance that people are in, and you cannot get out of it. There's no way until someone comes along and, pardon the way I'm going to put this, slaps you upside the head, you know, or pile drives you or something, and gets you away from all of this stuff and shuts off that mechanism of brainwashing and tells you exactly what's going on and shows you the documents and shows you who's behind the scenes. I can read you the whole list of Bilderberg, who was at Bilderberg last year, Peter Thiel who created PayPal, it's just a whole bunch of people, you know, car companies, you know. Oh, and by the way, I think Hillary Clinton showed up, which she shouldn't have, but somebody said she did. But, you know, it's this whole thing. People aren't going to believe it because, and I'm going to put it this way, They are in their own little world, deluded by their own preconceived ideas of, and their whole life surrounds their little thing that they're doing. It's like a kid with, you probably played with your daughter when she was less than a year old or 2 years old or whatever, playing with blocks in front of her and trying to put things up, That's what these individuals are doing. They don't want to see behind the scenes. They're sitting there with their toys in front of them, playing with them. Oh, what? Oh, something? Oh, I just want to play with this. That's what they're doing.
Absolutely, and it just goes to show you how influential some of these people are on television, to where if they don't say it and if they don't show it, then it can't be true, it can't be real, because television doesn't lie to us. I mean, just look at the Miami Heat basketball players in that new White House push with Michelle Obama. You got the Miami Heat players, LeBron James, and the rest of these idiots, playing with Michelle Obama, talking about her Let's Move campaign, where all that really is regulating what you can and cannot feed your children in schools and everything else, but they make it fluffy, they make it nice, they make it funny, to where it's more acceptable for you to buy into, to believe into. And it's all programming, and people need to step out of this matrix. We literally are living in the matrix. This is real life. I mean, the Matrix is a movie, yes, but what they show you is true.
Yeah. It's much like, I'm going to put it this way, it's an allegory of what is happening in real life. What we see is real. What is real, what isn't? We have to determine that and interpret that for ourselves. But you can go back and look at that movie and look at other things that were written as far back as the late 1800s, in the writings of those people, showing the allegories. Like, for instance, The Wizard of Oz was apparently, from what I heard, an allegory of what was happening then. 1948, when Eric Blair, George Orwell, wrote the, 1984. It's like everything was happening. And people who had the vision, who had the understanding of what was going on behind the scenes, was telling everybody else through these stories, look what's happening, you have to be aware of this. But they put it into an entertaining type of fashion, and everybody's like, oh, look. Yeah, look, you're dying. Everything is dying around you, and you're sitting there worried about, who's going to be in the Super Bowl.
Absolutely, and going back to writings and what's been written and what's telling you what's coming in the future, you don't need to go any further than look at Albert Pike, who was a prominent member of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, and his writings in the book Morals and Dogma, the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. He predicts the 3 world wars, and the first 2 have been played out to the T that he wrote about. And all people have to do is look at what he writes about the Third World War, and look at the state of the world now and how it has been for, the 50, 60 some odd years. Yeah, folks, he predicted them, because this is who is behind the scenes manipulating all this stuff, are people like the Albert Pikes, are the George Soroses, are these people out there that you don't know about, that you probably never even heard of, but they are the ones who are manipulating everything around you. And then you've got the Rothschilds, who fund these campaigns, who fund these people, because they make X amount of money on return by overthrowing these countries and by dominating these countries and so on and so forth. It's all a play, folks. It's all a mass deception, and you need to wake up and get out of that trance before it's truly too late, because we're already on the last thresholds now. We're hanging on by a hair, and I'm not sure if we're ever going to be able to pull out of it 100%. But damn it, we need to start turning the tides now before the Titanic has sunk completely.
Now, these stories were out there, these allegories, they were written, and people started getting a hint. They're like, oh my God, what's happening? This is what... And there was a gentleman, I don't even want to call him that, he was I don't know what to call him. It's just, Edward Bernays talked about propaganda, and he specifically talked about how you can manipulate the minds of the general public to believe the lie to be true, basically.
Exactly. I mean, everything is out there in the open. You just have to search for it. You have to dig. It's not going to be presented to you on a silver platter. Not something this big and this complex and this complicated. You have to dig for it yourself. And, I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. but we do our homework, we do our studies, we research on what we talk about, and we try to present it in a way to where it'll hopefully get you up and motivated to search into the stuff for yourself and to look into what's really going on and step away from the television set and from the newspaper, because they're not telling you anything that's beneficial. They're just spinning the same crap, the same propaganda that is going to keep you in the dark and keep you from getting angry and exposing the truth that's really going on.
Exactly, and like, we know people that are supporting certain candidates for president, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all, it's all fixed anyway. It's all rigged. And if you go to these candidates and ask them pointed questions about what's happening behind the scenes, they'll sit there, it's like you blew their mental gasket. They have no way and know how to answer you.
That's a great way to explain it. Their mental gasket. That's awesome. Let me ask you this question, Wayne. Do you think, once 2016 comes, do you think that the person that will be selected as the new dictator of this country, do you think that it's somebody that's already in the public eye, or do you think it's going to be somebody that's going to pop out of the shadows like an Obama did? Do you think that we already know, that we already see this person that's going to be selected, or do you think it's going to be somebody that's going to come out of nowhere?
Well, I can answer that two ways. I believe that it will be somebody that you would never expect, but I think they're basically in the shadows now, and they're starting to put their foot into the midterms, and they're probably going to be supporting someone in the midterms in a certain area. That I get that feeling just by watching things going on, because Chris Christie's got his scandals, you've got Rand Paul, you've got Ted Cruz, you got all these people coming up on that side, and the Democrats, from what I can tell, have hardly anybody that's worth anything on their side. So there's going to be somebody that's going to come in and step in to say, hey, what about this guy? And they're going to point at an underdog. And that underdog is going to, in the midterms, is going to be purported and all this. That person who pointed that person out may be really into the mix of getting into the 2016 presidential election. I mean, it's, if you watch the trends and notice who's in this game right now in the midterms, you can probably figure it out. I don't know specifically who it is, but there is someone behind the scenes that we haven't seen yet, and I think that they're going to be the ones pushing for somebody in the midterms to go for the 2016 elections.
It's going to be interesting to see how that does play out, because it seems as if it always revolves around the Bilderberg meetings. As the Bilderberg meeting of this year, and then I think it's really going to play into the midterm elections of this year. And then I think as we get closer to 2016, we are really going to start to see who will be the selected one, the chosen one, by looking at who's attending the Bilderberg conferences, and then after the Bilderberg conference, who's stepping out of the into the light now, into the mainstream media and into the eyes of the people, to say, hey, look at me, look at what I'm doing, I'm saying the right things, I'm doing the right things, vote for me, vote for me. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And I do agree with you that I think it's going to be somebody that comes out of the shadows. If it was today, let's say the elections were today, who do you think would be the front-running puppet for the Republican and the front-running puppet for the Democratic side?
I think the puppet on the Republican side would be Ted Cruz, because there's certain things that he's done that signifies him to be a major player, and I think the second one, if he does not pan out to be the front runner, then it would be Rand Paul. Another one that because of what he's already voted on and voted against and voted for, so they can use him as a puppet. On the Democratic side, I don't know too many players on that side. Because we hear, and this goes back into the subject of, if people don't like the Democrats because they suck, they're going to go with the Republicans. So I've been seeing more Republicans being pushed to the forefront of this midterm elections. So I don't know too many Democrats running. But I would say one that hasn't had too many scandals, that has, voted for, or I should say against, like the NDAA, stuff like that, or has looked for reform in the White House, I think that's the person you need to start looking at, and whoever is below them that hasn't had too many scandals either. But it's the Democrats, either way. The Democrats and Republicans are playing off of one another. It's almost as if they're sitting in a bar somewhere, shaking hands, going, "Yeah, okay, you take it this week,"
Yeah, exactly. Take the ball and run with it. I completely agree with that. And what I got to say to the people out there, and I want to get your comment on this, Wayne, is when you're looking at a candidate for whether it's the president or a local office, whatever the case may be, if you can, ask them, whether it's in a town hall meeting or if you email them or call them, record everything and ask them what's their take on the Federal Reserve. Do we need it? Can we get rid of it? Can we audit it at least? What's their take on the NSA surveillance? What's their take on the New World Order? What's their take on the Bilderberg meeting? And if they can't answer that for you, or they refuse to, or have no idea what you're talking about, then you obviously know that they're a fraud and they're a scam. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we know someone here in Nevada that is basically could not answer any of those questions accurately. I'm not going to say that he couldn't completely answer those questions, but I don't think his answers would be as accurate as we would hope they would be. And several people here in the political structure of Nevada are the same way. But you're right. I mean, if they don't answer a yes and no question, or if they don't give you the information, in other words, we don't ask questions, you and I or anybody in the alternative media, we don't ask questions that we don't already know the answer to. We already know the answer. That's why we're asking you. Can you tell me about this? And if they can't answer you, then they're frauds.
Exactly, and then ask them to, what's their take on the fluoride in the water? Can you get the fluoride out of the water? If they look at you puzzled and say, I don't know what you're talking about, or fluoride is good for you, haven't you seen the commercials where 9 out of 10 dentists agree that fluoride is good for your teeth? It's a scam, folks. It's a fraud. And if they can't answer the simplest of questions, and to at least put forth a symbolism of hope that maybe, just maybe, you have your head on your shoulders screwed on right, and that you are for we the people, then maybe I'll back you. But if you can't answer any of these questions, then I just know you're another puppet in the game, and that you're in it for the popularity, you're in it for the money, you're in it for the control, and you don't care about us. And I think that's the way we need to move forward in this country, is stop asking the same rhetoric, the same roundabout questions, and get to the meat and potatoes and ask them straight up, what is your take on the New World Order, the Bilderbergs, fluoride, the chemtrails? What's your take on all of this? If they can't answer, move on to the next one then.
Yeah, we can eliminate, just by asking those questions to prominent people here in Nevada, we can eliminate a lot of problems here in, Nevada. And I can tell you right now, I remember I was living here when Harry Reid became a congressman out of Nevada. And he was all, liberty and all this. And now look, you get into Washington, D.C., they screw with your mind, they screw with your life, and now he's nothing but a corrupt piece of crap.
That's exactly right, and that's the truth. And again, Republican, Democrat, you've got two parties that are one and the same. You've got a political structure that is completely fraudulent. They can't answer the tough questions. They don't have your best interest in mind. And it just goes to, why do we have to vote for the lesser of two evils? How come we can't vote for somebody that is honest and true 100% to the T? Why do we have to follow along the same path of deception? Why do we have two parties in the first place, two dominant parties? Why do we have all this corruption going on? And why is it, and this is a question that I ask a lot of people that are that still believe that the Republicans and Democrats are either different or they truly do care. Why is it that when there's a bill to be passed through the Congress or the Senate, whatever the case may be, they can't read it. They can't look at it until it's already passed. I mean, that makes absolutely no sense. How do they have the best interest for the American people if they can't read what's in a freaking bill until it passes? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. And yeah, it's like we have to pass the bill to see what's in it. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi, go take your Prozac and go to sleep, okay? Real seriously. You know, it's like, it doesn't make any sense only because of the fact that they're Republican, Democrat, who's ever in, Congress, whatever, whoever they are, whatever is happening up there, they are told prior to going in and voting on these bills what to vote for, how to vote. They're manipulated from the very core of the Congress. They're told they're pawns on a chessboard, basically. They go out, they fight the wars, they do this, they get criticized, blah, 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 but that's all a distraction as to what's going on behind the scenes, where the actual people who run the place, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, all those, that come behind all of that distraction going on and tell the president and vice president, here's what we're going to do next week. Make sure that you dumb down the people far enough to where they believe that you're doing it for and they think that you have their best interest in your heart, and that's basically all it is.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that statement there, and I mean, we are really in an important time, not only in this country but around the world. We are at the forefront of the full hammer down of the New World Order. Everything is incremental. They can't do it all at once because it would be too obvious and people would freak out and there would be mass panic and chaos. They don't want that. They want controlled chaos. They want a controlled environment because they are control freaks. They are manipulators, mass manipulators, and they're doing a damn good job of it so far, and they have been for decades upon years upon, forever. And it takes a lot to really change that way of thinking, to change that progress that they have made. But we're starting to see it, as I played in that clip earlier with Brzezinski talking about how they're scared now because there's more of a political awakening going on around the world. We are at the forefront of truly making a change, but like I said before, that makes them dangerous. So, in closing here, Wayne, before we wrap this up, I want to ask you a quick question. We've talked about this before, about a false flag coming, and we could feel it. There's something in the air that just, it's like static electricity. You can feel it, you just don't know, where it's coming from or what it's going to be. Do you think that the Japanese, Chinese debacle going on over there is going to escalate into something bigger? Do you think that there could be a staged false flag in Russia? Do you think that the Middle East will explode eventually and lead us into a third world war? What do you think is coming sooner rather than later that's really going to change the course of the direction that we're on? Because they're failing right now, so of course they're going to have to stage something to distract us and to make us fearful again of our neighbors and so on and so forth. What do you think is coming in the immediate future?
Yeah, I think it's going to be several things probably all at once. If not, it's going to be within a matter of months, probably within a year, apart from one another. And I think, if you remember correctly, a year and a half ago, we're moving military ships into the North China Sea. Why? Don't know. We didn't know then. Now we know now, because Japan and China are starting to get a little pissed off at one another. Then we have the Sochi Olympics coming up, or the Olympics in Sochi coming up, and Putin's going, I don't want any trouble here. Basically, he's being a good guy in all this. But he knows behind the scenes that if something happens, he's going to have to, get involved. He doesn't want to be involved, I can tell you that much. He does not want to be involved. But now you've got Russia happening, you got China, you got Japan, you got the U.S. I believe that something to trigger our military to do what they need to do to us and, of course, overseas, something is going to happen here. And it's all going to be within a few months of one another. China Sea is going to explode. Saudi Arabia and the Middle East is going to go crazy. Russia is going to go nuts during the Olympics. Something's going to happen here. It's all going to be within about a year, 8 months to a year. And something's going to happen. I don't specifically know what, but I think a bunch of stuff is going to happen to get us into a world war.
I agree with that. I think we're on the forefront of something big here, and something tells me that something will pop off at the Olympics in Russia. I just have that feeling because the U.S. wants to intervene. They want to have their big security going on over there in Russia, and you got Putin who's saying, I don't want anything to happen, as you just said. I think, and I feel it, that something will pop off at the Olympics in Russia, almost like it was supposed to last year during the Summer Olympics, but it never happened.
Yeah, almost like Munich. Something happened in Munich, and then we got involved in Germany and all that, and it's like, what? Wait a minute, what happened? And, of course, the Olympics, everybody concentrated on that, but, something's going to happen, I'm sure, and if it starts in Sochi over there, Putin's going to sit back going, okay, let's see how everybody else deals with this, and we may have to come in and stop all of this, but something else is going to happen. It's going to cascade into something really, really bad.
Absolutely. Well, Wayne, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show once again. Next time you come on, we're going to have to break down the whole importance of the robotics and move on to some other issues. But, every time you come on, it's always informative. We always have a great time, and we try to break down this information as best as possible for everyone else. And, again, you can check out Wayne's show, The Views Expressed, live on Spreaker.com. 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern, Monday through Friday. And Wayne, if you would give out some contact information where people can get a hold of you.
Well, you can go to Free America Radio on Facebook. That's Free America Radio on Facebook, or freeamericaradio.us. And just go to the website. I haven't worked on it here a lot in the past few weeks, but things are changing, so stay tuned. Again, freeamericaradio.us and also Free America Radio on Facebook.
Absolutely. Well, Wayne, it was a pleasure, buddy, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
You bet.
All right,
Thank
folks. That's Wayne S. Pierce from The Views Expressed Live, my guest once again on this edition of Distorted Reality. Don't forget to check out the Facebook page at Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker. And you can also download the app on Google Play on the Android phones to stay up to date with the shows on the go. And as you heard it here, folks, we are in serious trouble. And we know this, but what are we going to do to come together collectively to really change things, to get things back on track of how they should be? That's the question we should be asking ourselves. So until next time, folks, I am Nick Tucker signing off for Distorted Reality, and you all take care.